So we are going to look at one of my favorites, Henri Rousseau. I hope I pronounced that right. I have a lot of French speakers here. You probably all know this very famous painting from the MoMA, and it has so many of the elements: lush vegetation, animals, people in the wild. But let's look at first the animals. So obviously back then he probably wasn't traveling anywhere to witness these animals in real life. So they think a lot of these kind of straightforward stances of the animals have to do with the fact that he was looking at them in pictures of books. But look at these layers upon layers upon layers of vegetation, which is what I want to focus on today. He was self-taught. He was kind of ridiculed. I mean, one critic said he looked like he painted with a blindfold over his eyes and paints on his feet. So he was ridiculed, but he was so confident. If you take anything else, know that he didn't really start seriously painting until he was 49, and he was always dismissive. He kept a scrapbook of his criticism, and so tonight we are going to look at how we can layer color, create bold. We've been doing Bay Area and Fairfield Porter, these very constrained people, and look at what fun we're gonna have tonight. We're gonna talk about greens and animal painting. He also takes credit for being the first to make what he called portrait landscapes, where people were in where portraits were taken in the landscape, and he did do a lot of these where he kind of brought people out of the city, or at least I guess into the parks. Again, we're going to just talk about how we layer things, how we layer greens, how we create almost a mosaic pattern. There's so much happening on these, it's almost like flattens them. He has a very, obviously, look at, there's not really any shadows, a very flat approach to painting. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So maybe look for a picture when you were on a trip with lush vegetation, when you saw that little animal, or, your child is in, Costa Rica or Prospect Park. Another person who did portrait landscapes was Frida Kahlo, and she was also into this lush, often flattened her worlds, just layer upon layer of. It's gonna be really fun. The more you are exuberant and kind of playful and bold with this, the more fun you're gonna have. So very vibrant colors, very bold shapes, simplified shapes. He was self-taught. He did not have the years of atelier experience, painting live models and painting. He kind of had to go by the botanical gardens and books. One of my favorite contemporary artists, Jeff from Japan, is Miroco Machiko, and she also is just lush, mosaic, the boldest colors. It sometimes makes sense and sometimes don't, but she also look at the camouflage, she does a lot. Her palettes are often analogous or monochromatic, which really works well. She's just great. Love her so much. And if you are inspired by this, you could really simplify and modernize your palette and your mark making. We will talk about that. I also have acrylic markers, which could be fun for this. Oh, another one of my favorite, Anna Valdez, is a contemporary painter. She actually discovered art when she was on an archaeological dig in Ireland, and she was encouraged to keep a sketchbook and do drawings and scale drawings and maps. And she really loved this idea of anthropology and art, coming together for this new idea of cataloging and, just recording our world. So I just love it. This might be more interesting to you. Maybe you want to, come in with a ton of images of objects from your house and plants and just go wild. I think this is just going to be such a fun class, and I think it'll help us learn so much more about color relationships. Emily Carr was a Canadian painter, also did very lush, very stylized, very much influenced by the artwork of the indigenous community, and as far as how she depicted in these kind of almost folk art way. Maria Promachenko is Ukrainian folk artist. I never know what they mean by folk artist, but officially Rousseau is also, because he was not officially trained. I don't know. Those words, I don't know if they matter anymore. But again, you'll notice repetition, pattern, a mosaic, filling up. Mosaic means you're just filling the canvas edge to edge, top to bottom, instead of doing a triangle formation or having symmetry in the middle. Another contemporary still life painter, very similar to what Anna Valdez is doing, is Hilary Pecis. And again, You could combine brands and vegetation. You could combine objects of vegetation, animal and vegetation. Can you tell that I really want you to use some vegetation? I'm very inspired by all of these artists. If you've seen my own work, this is closer to what I have an interest in doing than somebody like Fairfield Porter, who I love. But this is definitely, I'm a more is more kind of painter, and these are more is more kind of painters. So I get really excited by the idea of how do you even start this painting, how do you layer. So I'm going to have one table with transparent and semi-transparent paints, one with opaque and semi-opaque, and I'm going to suggest you spend the first half of your painting time with the semi-transparent and start getting some layers, and then start going over it with thicker opaque paint. It's gonna be super fun. Definitely bring in some images. I'll have some animal books too that you can paint from, like Rousseau. Bye.